We're in Autodesk 123D Design here, and in this video I want to have a look at some of these sketch tools that we can see underneath this menu option. So I'm going to be drawing a series of sketches on this 2D work plane that represents the build platform of a 3D printer. And just so you understand where these sketch tools come from, obviously we have these primitives available which are pre-made 3D shapes. And we also have some simple sketch tools here as well, which seem to be duplicated here. The reason why we want to work with these is that it allows us basically, if I work with this tool, if I click on it, it then says, where do I want to start to draw? And this is very, very important, and I'll come back to this in more detail later. But if I draw anywhere on this 2D plane, and of course I want to now go onto the top view, and I want to make sure ideally that I'm in orthographic mode. I'm just going to zoom out here and zoom in down the bottom. So if I now start to draw on this space, it's nicely snapping to the actual grid. Notice that it's not snapping to anywhere else, it's just snapping to the main points on the grid. And for the life of me, I can't work out what difference this makes. I mean, if I go to a 5mm grid spacing there and I continue to move around it, it's not changing any of my grid settings on here. Let's ever see toggle snapping. No, that's not doing anything. Okay, so basically, so I just ignore that. Basically, let me see. Yeah, I can snap to these main points. Now, if I use this tool now to drag out a rectangle, so click, move, click a second time, it shows that I've got a complete 2D profile here. In other words, there's no gaps in the design because I can see it's filled. Okay, let's go back to the 3D view here. And now in this third menu option up here, I've got the Extrude Tool, which basically means I can click on it, I can select this shape, and I can now extrude that into 3D. So that's the idea of being able to work with this sketch tool. So let's just click on the Enter key there to confirm that, and that shape is created. Right, I'm going to start again, go New. I'm not going to save that. Let's see what we've got. Let's go back onto the top plane again, and let's look at some of these options. I want to look specifically at some of these tools over here. So let's have a look. Polyline tool. This is your generic kind of drawing tool. And again, once I've clicked on this, I've then got to indicate where I want to start. So I'm going to start drawing on this grid. There's my origin. I don't know, let's start to draw here. If I click, release the mouse button, that's important, and I keep clicking, then I can keep drawing a series of straight lines, which is all very straightforward. Now, if I click, but now I want to do a curve, what I can do is I need to put my mouse back onto that last point that I drew, click and hold the mouse button down, and now it means I'm going to start to draw out an arc, which will continue from where we left on last time, which is quite nice. So, for example, if I wanted to have an arc here which has a radius of 7.5 millimeters or a diameter of 50 millimeters, I can do that, which is nice. Click to release, and now I can keep going. If I want to do another arc instead of a straight line, I come back to here and I click on that last point drawn, and I now draw out. And notice that it wants to continue the line without a corner. So it's going to continue this round. Let's, for example, do another arc there with a radius of 7.5 millimeters. There we are. Release, and I've got the arc there. Now I can continue to draw a series of straight lines. So that's the polyline tool, which is quite nice. When you're finished drawing, there's a green tick here. I click on that, exits the mode. Now notice here that this shape has not been fully enclosed. I'm missing a line down the bottom here. So let's see how I can close this up. What other tools do we have here? I've got a spline tool. Let's have a look at this. So spline tool. Now, when I've clicked on this, we couldn't really see anything happen then. I mean, it hasn't been grayed out or anything. Hasn't been selected in any way. But notice now that when I mouse things around, I've now got this little pop-up green box. So I've got to be aware of these things, and it's asking me where I want to start to draw. Now, if I start to draw here, okay, if I just click here, and I now draw a line that joins those 2 points together, and I click on the tick to finish, it hasn't enclosed that box. And this is really important, and it's because these are two completely separate sketches. So if I mouse over these lines, you'll notice that, well, it's selecting each line separately. But this first set of polylines that I drew, straight lines and curves, is all one sketch. This line down here is a different sketch, and that's really significant. So I'm going to actually select this, and I'm going to hit the delete key on the keyboard and get rid of it. Let's come back to that tool again, the spline tool. And now, rather than just clicking on the general plane, I'm going to click on the previous sketch that I drew. And now I'm editing this sketch. So now I can click here, I can click here, and that will enclose the object. But just to show what this tool will do, I want at this point, what I'm going to do here is try and do a little wavy line like that. And then let's see if yeah, I want to click on if I right click, what happens? No, it undoes it. Okay, that's interesting. Or it just makes the tick reappear. Okay, let's click on here, and that encloses the shape. Fantastic. So that's looking quite nice. Okay, let's look at some of the other tools that we have here. We've also got this to arc feature, which basically means I'm going to start a new shape now. In fact, no, I'll continue to modify the same thing. Let's click on this. And what this means I can do basically is I can identify a center point, and then I can identify the radius of this arc. So for example, 10 millimeters, and then I can start to draw out an arc here. So I could, for example, set this to be 360, and that would generate a complete circle. Although rather annoyingly, as soon as I move my mouse, 360, enter, there we are. I had to press enter, and that's now locked it. Let's just delete that again, and let's make it 180. Ah, it's so annoying. It seems to have just taken my enter key there as an indication to actually complete the sketch. So I didn't like that. I'm going to stick that. I'm going to delete it. So you get the basic idea there. I'm just going to make another shape here. I'm going to go to my polyline. I'll stick the same sketch. Let's do a simple shape that looks like this. And what I want to do is I want to make it there, finish that. I want to make it so there's going to be an arc connecting these two together. Now, out of interest, there was a very simple solution there. I mean, what I should have done here, if I just draw that again, is I should have drawn, click, 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 and then I should have come back to here, clicked, and then dragged out to that point, and that would have closed it. But let's say that I want to instead use this 2-point arc. Now, this is actually going to be surprisingly difficult. If I click on this, what I want to do is make it so that, in fact, no, it's not. I'm so daft. It's going to be dead easy because I can click on the grid there, and we are done. Okay, let me try that one again, dearie me. Instead, okay, let's zoom out here. Let's zoom in here. Instead, let's have it, okay, there, there. Okay, let's do the arc at the bottom. Here we go. Let's come to that 2-point arc and modify this shape. Here I've got to try and find a midpoint, and that's very, very, very difficult to do because I'm not stepping to the grid. So let's just see what happens if we guess. If I think, well, where's the midpoint there? Let's zoom in and try and make this as accurate as possible. Is that the midpoint? Something like? Let's click there to see what happens. Okay, now I want it to come out to this arc here. Now that should be, this is all the way across, this shape is 25 millimeters. This should be 12.50. Let's click there and let's bring it across to here. Now notice, look, because I was slightly off, because this was 12.514 millimeters, I think, it's never actually going to snap to that point, and it never encloses the shape. So if I zoom in over here, we've definitely got a nice connection. If I zoom in over here, there's a break, and that's going to stop it from enclosing the shape. So the effect of that is that if I now come to the 3D view, and I think to myself, right, I want to do some extrusions here. You know, I can extrude that. Okay, let's just press enter there. I can extrude this. You know, while I'm extruding this, let's look at a few other things as well. Can I extrude it in different? Oh my goodness, that's pretty cool, isn't it? I can extrude that there. Okay, fine. Obviously, I should be able to extrude this. In fact, is there an extrude option here? Yes, I can go to the gear here. I can extrude that. There's my little draft angle again. Okay, what's that giving to me? Okay, that's no problem. If I try and extrude this, no, there we are. It's not an enclosed shape. Can't do it. So trying to use some of these 2-point arc, and it's similar with the 3-point arc there, is actually quite difficult to do. Let's just look at one or two more things here. Let's have a look. I'm going to come to this trim tool. I'm going to click on this shape here. Okay, so I'm modifying this shape here. This is a bit of a strange tool because I've got a radius tool down here, and if I try to modify this, it won't let me. What I need to do is select the two arcs that I want to add the fillet to first, and then I can specify the radius I want that to have. So let's make that 7.5. And what's quite nice here, if I click on the Tab key, it should apply it, or the Enter key. No, that did not work at all. Okay, let's undo that. Let's try that one again. Fillet on this shape. Okay, thank you. I want to fillet here. I don't want to fillet here. No, I can move this arrow here, no problems. 7.5. Ah, it's very, very small, that's why. Let's make it 15. Aha, that's more like it. That's what I wanted. Okay, press enter there. Let's have a see. Can I use the same fillet tool over here? Click and click. Let's do a 15. Enter. Now, out of interest, that hasn't updated this extrusion, which is quite interesting. So let me just see if I can bring this round. And let me see if I can do an extrusion. So that's interesting. I've been able to create this shape here, but if I wanted to get rid of this 2D shape, oh dear me, it's going crazy on me. If I wanted to get rid of this 2D shape, then could I actually do that? Can I select it and delete it? Yes, that's really interesting. How interesting. So I've created this 2D shape. Can I pull this away somehow? Can I select this and use the Move tool and move this to the side? Ah, that is pretty cool. Let's move it back here. And then look, and there's this 2D shape, which I can then extrude into a 3D. That's quite nice. So then again, it's also not quite working with the standard 3D CAD package. When I put those fillets in, what it should have done in my mind is it should have added the fillets to this shape. So this shape that I'd already created should have been modified, and it hasn't. It stayed where it is, and it has updated the actual 2D sketch, but I've had to re-extrude it into a new shape to take advantage of that 2D sketch modification. So yeah, once again, it's proving the point that 123D Design isn't really a true 3D CAD package, but it's interesting. It's certainly quite a powerful tool. So there we are. I shall leave the video at that point.